Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. If you missed my previous video, I talked a lot about this, about why Tier 6 class catalyst fragments haven't become easier to get or cheaper to get in the economy of the game like so much else. Tier 3 Alpha and Tier 6 Basic in particular has gone down to what Tier 2 Alpha and Tier 5 Basic once did, where you just think, man, they're so much easier to get, especially in, and I realize this is a small percent and it makes me uncomfortable talking about this because the difference is so vast, but especially in regards to, of course, the Valiant Daily Crystals, the most valuable thing in the game right now that could easily give you, over the course of 5 days, at least one fully formed Tier 6 Basic and or Tier 3 Alpha, a ton of 7-star shards, we're talking about 5,000 per pop, a chance for a free 7-star champion in general. It's the future of the game. And we also know the future of the game is hopefully not just for Whale Holiday Cash Days, but certainly the minimum crystal being a 5-star champion, which looked like Valiant crystals, but they were called a version of Mythic crystals during the Valentine's Day sales. But I do caution you all because I was asked, Prof, when are we going to see those more? Well, a couple years ago, they gave us these 2 champs pop out of the crystals in that week. And so you got 2 champs for the price of 1, and people thought that would be a start for what the economy of the game would look like, and it was frozen out the rest of the year. That was the only time we saw it. So I hope that's not the case with the worst champs in crystals being 5 stars, but chances are Kabam is going to want to protect those crystals for cash and shut out, unfortunately, free-to-play players. So that is part of this discussion, because free-to-play players right now don't have many options outside of really tough content where they're going to have to spend all their units. Not just content like Necropolis, but the Winter of Woe for Paragon. And there's so many Paragon players who, for example, don't have a ranked up Awakened Angelo or 7-star Angelo. They don't have a ranked up Howard the Duck. And so when Winter of Woe hits, you have to think, well, there are options that are very good to choose, but those options are going to include ranking up a champion that maybe I'll never use again after this month, or maybe I don't have the resources to rank them up because they're so expensive and I don't have a lot of money. And so that's part of what Kabam likes to do with the demand of certain things versus the supply, the economy of the game. When I talk about the economy of the game, I'm talking about supply and demand. It's basically microeconomics in a discussion. Because it's microeconomics, when you look at the Battleground store specifically, so much of this is so outdated, it's almost laughable. I still think the 6-star 6 stones, especially because their generics, are the best. But even those could be cheaper at this point. But stuff like these rank up materials that are half of what the glory store is for Valiant, because they haven't updated this, as well as Tier 4 Basic, Tier 5 Basic, and then especially like the 7-star shards, which are so outrageously priced. I mean, this is priced like a 10-star. This is priced like a 10-star Stanley, rest in peace. I do think I would go for a Stanley. He deserves to be immortalized in this game because we immortalized him in a title. Time to make him the most incredible. If you make Nick Fury so much more amazing than the MCU has made Nick Fury look after a Secret Invasion disaster and a Marvel's movie that was probably more harm than good to the world when it came to plot, at least, especially from a journalistic storytelling standpoint, you should see me rip movies. It's you think I rip Kabam offers? You bring me to the movies and your entire perspective will change. And if it's a trash movie, not for the better. With that being said, in Battlegrounds right now, I have the motivation to continue my individual score, which is almost at 200,000, which for me is pretty good considering I only do 3 fights every 2 days. But I have the motivation to get 6-star shards. These things, you want to talk about something they're just giving away now. These things are not what they should be. They should be 7-star shards. Because the Elder's Marks, I'm only using them because in the next season, once I do those 5 fights, I usually always get enough to get me back to the 9,000 threshold no matter where I'm at. But, oh my gosh, if I don't use them and instead I use energy, I'm going to lose out on 1,200 6-star shards. What could I possibly do? Who's motivated by that at this point? The 6-star shard economy of the game in terms of motivating players to actually chase things because they want 6-star shards is dead. That is a cavalier target. Maybe a throne breaker, but when you get to become Paragon and especially Valiant, it's all about 7 stars. And I'm not saying 6-stars don't have a purpose. They still very much do. But 6-star shards itself, if that's going to be the motivation to use Elder's Marks and get through more milestones, I don't care if it's an alliance event or an individual event, it's just laughable. The 6-star economy is dead because it's just too much supply and not enough demand. And most 6 stars for in-game players are just used to open 7 stars faster, which is why the economy has literally been shifted on its head with early access bundles, because if you buy at least one of each champion a month, you're going to not have to open featured crystals because you're already going to have all the champions in the featured crystals, which means you're going to save 5,000 6-star shards on average per featured crystal, and that's going to get you a lot more basics, which is going to get your 6 stars to max sig, which is going to allow more max sig crystals, so you're going to get double the 7-star shards and most of your 6-star crystals. It's going to turn into what 5 stars are for so many players, but now they're 6 stars. And it's kind of crazy because I didn't think at one point that 6 stars would ever be that available, but now they are. That's awesome in one sense, but it's not awesome in the sense that Battlegrounds is just laughably out of touch with what players need. The 6-star market is dead, and it's up to Kabam to evolve it, or else this game mode's going to not be worth it to so many people. Or they're going to do what I do and just do the minimum for the trophy tokens. But even then, even just 3 fights every 2 days, it's not fun. It's just a necessary evil, kind of like Alliance Quest. And for that, I say Kabam, the ball is in your court. Either evolve these rewards or watch a game mode that you thought would save the game die.